Chef John here to show you a breakfast recipe from our Step Into the Kitchen cookbook. It's caramel pear pancakes. It's a very hearty, substantial recipe utilizing 2 thermo snacks. And who doesn't love pancakes? I hope you enjoy this one. Okay, let's get started on breakfast. The first thing we'll do is we're going to clean and chop some pears. So I'm going to cut it in half. And that's an easy way to determine where the skin is on the pear. And when you're choosing your pears, you want them to be a little bit soft. That way you know they'll be a little ripe and sweeter in flavor. When they're rock hard, you'll have a lower sugar content and less flavor. So I like ones that are a little bit soft but not mushy. Okay. And then for me to remove the seeds, I just cut them in half again. And just take your paring knife and remove the seeds from the pear. And then we'll just cut the pears into bite-sized pieces. Not too small, because if you cut them too small, we'll be making pear sauce very similar to applesauce. So we don't want to make them too small, because you want to keep the visibility of the pear in your recipe for presentation purposes. In the meantime, I've heated up a pan also that's on a low-medium heat. So the pan will be warm and ready for the next step in the recipe. Okay, ready to go with the pears. Okay, now at this point, we'll add our butter to the sauté pan. Okay, so our pan's nice and warm. We've added our butter. And when it's fully melted, then we'll add the pears. I'm going to turn up my heat a little bit now. At this point, I increase my flame to about medium-high to help with the caramelization of the pears. And then once the pears are soft, we'll add our maple extract. Our Splenda brown sugar blend. And let this all begin to caramelize even more. Now the maple extract lends a nice little golden brownness to your pears. And since my pears were very ripe and soft already, you don't really need to cook them that long for them to be tender. And whenever you heat up a fruit like this, whether it's an apple or pear, you're always bringing out some natural sugars to your fruit, so it's going to taste even better. All right, so you can see the caramelization going on. Okay. Beautiful. Okay, then at that point, we're going to add a little water to the recipe to extend the sauce. It will not change your flavor. Continue to let that simmer. And we'll let this reduce for a little while until it gets like a medium thickness. And while the pears are simmering, I'm going to lower the flame a little now. And we can move on to our pancake batter. So in a large mixing bowl, we will need 2 ounces of unsweetened almond milk, some small curd cottage cheese. So I'm going to add all of my wet ingredients first, and a couple eggs. So now with a wire whisk, you want to just take this and turn this into a little bit of a batter. Okay. And once the eggs are incorporated, as they are, we can start adding our dry mixture, which would be the thermosnack cinnamon oatmeal mixture. Cinnamon is very good for your blood sugar levels. And then some of the thermosnack old-fashioned pancake mix. Okay, let's put that real nice. Now we want to return to our pears that are cooking. You see we have a nice sauce going on. Always use a rubber spatula to move your sauce around so it doesn't stick to the pan. At that point, our pears are nice and tender. The sauce is ready to go, so I'm going to turn this off and let that rest. And we can move on with our pancake mixture. So the batter's made. Okay, so now we have a heated flat griddle on about a medium heat. Our batter's ready to go. Even though it's non-stick, I think you're better off just taking a little bit of non-stick spray. And take your ladle. And pancakes. And when you're working with a non-stick pan, always use rubberized cooking utensils like the spatula here. And if you're always wondering when do I flip my pancake, here's when. When you start seeing little bubbles or air pockets form on your pancake consistently through the whole pancake, then it's time to flip it over. Now, this particular recipe is a great way to incorporate thermo snacks into your daily routine. Okay. Got a perfect golden brown color for our pancakes. Our pears are ready to go. A nice little sauce. At this point, get your serving plate ready. See a nice rise to the pancakes right now, so it's a beautiful pancake. And I think we're ready to go. So with your non-stick spatula. Portion size is 2. It's a very substantial breakfast. Beautiful pancakes. And we got our caramelized pear mixture. This looks delicious. So there you go. Pear pancakes involving 2 thermo snacks. Enjoy your breakfast. Now it's your turn to start cooking. Pick up a copy of the Slimgenics Step into the Kitchen cookbook at your nearest Slimgenics location.